Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Max Factory Figma Berserk Anime Griffith figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And a super quick look at the side of the box. Says Figma on that side. There is a picture of the figure on the opposite side. And I already have the figure out of the package, so let's get this cracking. Alright, so I've got the Berserk Anime Griffith out of the package. This is a figure that I've been trying to track down for quite some time. I didn't get hip to this anime until very late. In fact, Netflix had the trilogy, the Golden Age arc, the Egg of the King trilogy, and I watched that, and then that kind of just pretty much turned me out. Pause. And then I started trying to backtrack and pick up some of the figures. But by that time, this figure was so the price was so high that it wasn't even worth it trying to pick it up. So Figma did re-release this. This is the second release of this particular figure, and it looks like they're going to be re-releasing most of the figures that they already put out. It looks like they're going to re-release the Berserker Armor Guts, and hopefully they'll re-release the Band of the Hulk Guts. I do have the Black Swordsman version of Guts. So if you don't know anything about this anime, I don't even know how to explain it to you, really. I would recommend that you go ahead and watch the trilogy on Netflix. It is pretty cool. It's very graphic, bloody, violent, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's not for kids or anything like that. But Griffith here is one of the main characters. He's sort of like an anti-hero, and he actually ends up becoming the villain. I guess I could say that without giving any spoilers away. But yes, he's like a pretty boy gangster. But this figure is really nice. This is probably one of Figma's best figures in my personal opinion. It just looks really good, and it looks very true to the source material. And yeah, so enough of me fawning over this guy. Let's look at him a little more closely. Look at the accessories, and just taking a close look at his deco before I actually swap on all of his additional parts and stuff. You can see the armor here is just pretty much in the front. Again, this is true to the source material, though. I mean, he is armored here up on his chest, but this entire area here on his buttocks and his legs is exposed. But the way the armor looks and the way he still is able to move in the armor is pretty nice. And a nice look at that face there. Like I said, he's a pretty boy. He almost looks like a woman. And that sort of bluish gray hair. And the armor looks really cool. You can see the little spurs on his boots and his sheath for his sword. Decent articulation on this guy as well. Obviously, I'll go over the articulation, but I'm really happy with the look of this figure. And it was not cheap to track down some of the other figures, but I was able to complete the God Hand. I know that probably makes absolutely no sense to you unless you know what's going on with this anime, but shout out to my man Adam Smith. He actually helped me pick up one of the hardest and most expensive figures out of that little group to find. But yeah, out of the package, this guy has 2 fists. And typical Figma packaging here. He comes with the stand, he comes with the wheel with all of the additional hands and stuff on here. I don't think I'm gonna go through every hand, actually. I'll go through the ones that are necessary to utilize his sword. And then there's some instructions here. And then there's the little Figma baggie where you can bag up all the stuff after you open it up, and then you'll end up ripping this at the top of the bag like you do with every Figma figure. He's packed in with his sword, which looks accurate to the anime. It was a very thin sword in comparison to Guts' sword, which was a very broad, ridiculously large sword, but somehow Griffith here was able to fight and even defeat Guts with this sword and defeat plenty of people with this very small sword. There you go, there's a closer look at those. So all gloved, armored up hands, but I suppose you could swap anything on here. I still have the other. Oh no, it doesn't work like that. I guess it's different. Yeah, I just realized that the peg is still attached to Griffith's hands, and it's not the same here on these. I probably could swap out the peg and get an ungloved hand on him at some point. But yeah, moving along. And let it be known, in order for you to put the sword into his hand, you're going to remove the blade here from the handle, and then you'll slip this through his hand and reattach it. There you go. It's got a nice firm grip on the sword. That looks great. So you do have to do a little finagling. Like I said, you do remove the sword from the handle, but then you got to slip his hand into the guard of the handle and then slip the sword through there and then reattach it to the bottom of the handle. So you should definitely be careful with that. You don't want to break or bend anything. I was being a savage when I first opened this guy. He had plastic over every extremity, by the way, and I was just pulling this off and almost took off one of the spurs here. So again, you got to be very careful. Some Figmas are very delicate. He's also packed in with a helmet, which I'll swap on, and he also comes with a little cape or cloak as well, which looks like it ain't worth shit. It's probably sort of the same material as the cloak that came with Guts, which just wasn't great. But let's see. Yeah, pretty flimsy. Like I said, similar to Guts, but this is a hard plastic here, and this is not really anything. I don't know what this is, nylon or whatever it is, but you can see a little peg there, so I guess you'll peg that into the back, take his head off, slip everything on. I'll get him fixed up with his helmet. I have seen plenty of people replace the cloaks on not only Griffith but Guts as well, and that does make each figure 100 times better. But so there's actually a look at him with the cloak on without the helmet first. So I had to pull the head off and slip the little peg into his back there, and that looks fine. You know what I will say though, when you get him on a horse or something like that, it's good to have this material cape as opposed to something that's hard plastic, because then it'll actually sit right or lay right when you have him on a horse. I'm gonna definitely get him on a horse before this is all said and done. But yeah, that looks good, and it looks like I'm gonna have to remove his faceplate and put that inside the helmet in order to swap this out. So let me get that figured out. Yep, there's those three parts. You pull the face out from the back of the head and his little locks here in the front. And then you can slip the faceplate onto the back of the helmet. Focus. Look at that. He really looks like a woman, doesn't he? And then that works like that. Boom. And there he is in full armor. Thug life. Somebody's texting me. I'm digging that. That looks really cool. And there is an additional faceplate, actually. Doesn't look like the expression is that much different. Yeah, there we go. This one looks just a bit more angry. He looks a little perturbed. So yeah, you can swap this on with the helmet if you want, whatever you want to do. It looks like his eyes are looking to our left, his right a little bit as well. But everything here looks very clean, very nice paint work. I don't really have any issues or any complaints as far as the look of this guy. Like I said, it's a beautifully crafted figure. And there he is in sort of a relaxed mode. So because you're just kind of swapping out the face plates and it's not a full-on head swap with the helmet still looks in scale. It looks good when he's holding it. You know, you don't have to worry about things looking topsy-turvy, looking a little nuts with the swap in there. And then I sheath the sword, and everything here looks very clean and very nice. So, you know, this is one of those figures that's going to photograph really nicely and look great under some nice lighting. I'm still trying to explore all of the articulation. I may miss some stuff, but the head is separate from the neck. The neck can actually move independently of the head and vice versa, but on the neck, you know, you get a full range of motion. Look up, down, up, pivot, left to right. You can do a full 360. Obviously, it's going to be hindered a bit going up because of his hair, but it's a decent range of motion on the head. Shoulders are going to come up just about that far. You know, they're going to be hindered a little bit by the armor but there is what you can consider a butterfly joint in there, and you do get rotation. I don't think there is a turn there. No, they didn't break up the scope as far as the armor goes here on the shoulder, but you do get just a little bit more than 90 degrees there on the elbow. You get a swivel and a hinge on the wrist, and I guess you can rotate here as well. Yes, you can rotate there as well. Now the upper torso articulation is not that great because of the armor, but you are able to turn them left to right at the waist, and you do get a little bit of lower abdominal articulation. Again, the way this folds into itself is pretty cool. This is a soft plastic up here at the top of his thigh, so you can get the legs up pretty far and you can get them out pretty far. So again, I should be able to get him on a horse, which is great. And then you do get a little bit more than 90 degrees on the knee. I guess you could consider this double jointed. If the armor wasn't in the way, then you probably would get the full range. No rotation at the upper boot, but you do hinge, rotate, and pivot here on the foot. No toe joint, but decent articulation considering all of this armor. And the sheath here for the sword can rotate and move outward and inward a little bit. But that's great that it rotates, because you could just get his hand rested on there. You can put the right hand across like he's removing the sword from the sheath with the right hand. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get him to hold the sword with two hands. I'll try that later, but again, decent articulation, not bad. Let's breeze through some size comparisons. I have the Figma swimmers, the male and female here, which I just reviewed. And you can see they're a little shorter, a little smaller in stature than Griffeth, who's not a big dude anyway. He was very slender. And there he is surrounded by the God Hand. And maybe you can see some resemblance between him and and one of these characters here. And there he is next to Guts. Now, this is not the right version of Guts to go with this version of Griffith. Unfortunately, I don't have the Band of the Hawk version. Those two were kind of allies and rode out together and were in a lot of battles and stuff together. This version of Guts came after what happened in the Netflix trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. I think I got that right. But yeah, so I'm still looking to get that Band of the Hawk version, but you can see how they vary in size and stature, though. I think that's about right, regardless. All right, I'm getting up out of here. As you can see, I did get him up on a horse here. This is the old Toy Biz Lord of the Rings horse. I have a white one. I have a black one, as you saw in one of the pictures earlier. I had Guts on the black one. So these do scale well with 5 to 6 inch scale figures. I think he looks great on here. I will flesh this out a bit more outside of this review on Instagram and the Facebook group and all of that good stuff, but I needed to wrap this up. So I would highly recommend that you check out the series on Netflix. That's basically like a condensed, quicker version of the 90s anime. I did go back and watch quite a few episodes from the 90s anime after watching the Netflix series, and I do want to go and check out the manga as well. I would recommend that you do that. Most people say that the manga is probably your best alternative or your best bet, and the manga is still current, it's still going as far as I know. So hopefully they will release re-release more figures or more characters from this anime. I never picked up Casca, and like I said, I never picked up the Band of the Hulk, Guts. And I'm hoping that they will actually do more characters. Figma can be kind of wishy-washy with putting out a consecutive number of characters from any one property. But hopefully they'll see that people are really interested in these. So, all right, thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.